Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at Noon.
Right now, new businesses across the country are joining a nationwide ice out shutdown protest. We'll have a live report on how this works and their demands.
And the deadline set by Congress has come and gone. So where are the rest of the Epstein files? We're going to have the latest update from the Justice Department.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 32 News at Noon. I'm Natalie Bobke.
I'm Anthony Ponce. Hope you're having a great Friday. Let's give you a live look outside right now at our current conditions where things are snowy outside. Caitlin.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been kind of dealing with this lake effect today. And I will ask you now, can you share that metaphor that you shared on Chicago Now
with the hose.
Fire hose?
Yes.
Yeah, that helped.
Yes. So I was reading a discussion from the National Weather Service, and they compared lake effect to a fire hose when it just kind of sprays around and it moves and it wiggles. That's exactly what we're dealing with. So I've had so many questions about when is it going to stop snowing? When is it going to be heavy snowfall? Here's the thing. This lake effect snow is going to be swinging from Illinois to Indiana, back to Illinois, back to Indiana, today, tonight, tomorrow. So just be aware that throughout the day, today and tomorrow, we have the potential for heavy snowfall. So you're driving along right now, for example, light snow in the city. You saw from those live cameras, but not long ago, we did have this lake effect heavy snow move on through. Right now, the heaviest snow is going to be in the northern half of Cook County, rounding the lake. You actually have a bit of a break in northwest Indiana near the lake in Lake and Porter County. Light snowfall coming down from Will County to Kankakee points west. Now, talking about that snowfall, we do expect the heavy bands, as I just mentioned, to be on and off throughout the day, not only today, but also tonight and tomorrow, and especially northwest Indiana tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow, we could see that swing over to Chicagoland again. Right now, though, we are getting that bit of a break, so we can kind of catch up here on the roadways, hopefully, with the plows. Before we get into rush hour, though, on the way home, I do expect that we are going to have additional snowfall. Talking about the temperatures, we're seeing a range of 18 degrees at the lakefront and in Gary, 16 at O'Hare, 15 in Aurora, 16 in Morris, so it's chilly. Feeling like we could be in the single digits, though. At O'Hare, 4 is the wind chill, 3 degrees below zero in DeKalb, 3 in Aurora. Update for you, too. We now have a warning in effect for Cook County. That is a winter storm warning. So we had it in Lake and Porter in Indiana. Now it has expanded into Cook County, and that indicates we could see 6 inches of snowfall. We'll take a look at your weekend forecast and our future cast ahead. Natalie.
A question for you, Caitlin, for people who do have maybe plans this weekend, is there any way that they're going to be able to tell whether or not is the best time to go and take care of those plans?
Okay.
Like, is there a radar they can watch?
Yes, download our Fox 32 weather app. You can pull up the radar there, and you yourself can see where those heavy bands are located.
Okay.
So again, they are going to be shifting around. So even if it's not snowing hard where you are at the moment, it could happen. I would encourage you to try to stay off the roads if you can tomorrow. And then on Sunday, things are going to turn around with drier skies. But still, those back roads, side roads, unplowed roads, they are going to be hazardous even on Sunday.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin. And we are following some breaking news out of Harvey. Mayor Christopher Clark, sadly, has passed away after battling an undisclosed illness. City officials say they are working closely with the mayor's family. They will share more information when it's available. Clark served as the mayor of Harvey since 2019. We'll keep you updated when we learn new information. In the meantime, a nationwide boycott is underway in the wake of several deadly shootings in Minneapolis, 2 of them involving federal agents.
Saquon joins us live from the Avondale neighborhood with how Chicago is marking this attempt to boycott a lot of businesses. Say, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, good morning to you. Well, I will say we're not necessarily hearing of a bunch of widespread business closures here in the Chicago area as part of that boycott movement. But I'll step aside here because in Avondale, like you said, there are some businesses who are participating, like this one here. This is the Brewed Coffee Shop in Avondale. They're going to keep their doors shut today. And as you can see by these signs, they really want to be able to protect their neighbors, is in their words. And they're also encouraging customers to kind of join in on this movement here. Now, the owners of the coffee shop in here in this area. They also oversee a record shop just next door, and they posted this on their Instagram page just yesterday, announcing the closure of both of their stores and saying, in part, while the stormtroopers of our government murder more innocent people in the streets than the alleged criminals they claim to be after, we're struggling to fight the horrors of this tyrannical system under which we live, but we want to send a message where we can. Many local businesses are finding other ways to show their support for this movement, and a lot of that is done by donating some of their proceeds to mutual aid organizations. Here in Avondale, some of those businesses include Avondale Bowl, Ludlow Liquors, Wolfhound Bar and Kitchen, and more. Meanwhile, last night, we know 3 men and 4 women were detained after a protest at a Target in the West Loop. Activists were out there because they say the company gave ICE agents access to its stores to carry out some of these immigration operations. Chicago police did confirm with me early this morning each of them have now been charged with criminal trespass to property. We also heard from Alderman Lamont Robinson, who joined the community outside of that store last night. Listen.
As a member of the Chicago Black Caucus, I am here today to let my brown sisters and brothers know that we stand in solidarity with you. As we are on the cusp of Black History Month, understand that what happened to us 100 years ago, where our families were ripped apart, that we stand here today to let you know that we stand here with you.
Well, I think it's also important to know that there could be some bigger crowds in the downtown areas tonight. We know there's some reports of some protests that may be happening tonight as well. So just a heads up for those of you who might have to think about that commute back home. Guys.
What was the precedent for this, and how do they think that it's going to work? Has it been successful in the past?
Well, you know, I think a lot of the folks here in Chicago, a lot of these organizers behind a movement like this are really looking at Minneapolis as an example. As many of you know, they were the first to kind of hold this citywide general strike. This was, again, for the first time in nearly 80 years that the U.S. has seen something like this. And when you think about what happened in Minneapolis, this again just happened last week, that general strike I'm talking about. Not only did you have just the community members here, but almost every single big business owner, big local business owner from Minneapolis was also in on that. So I think a lot of people are looking at Minneapolis as an example and saying, well, what else can we do to also, you know, stand in solidarity, but also show our support and do everything we can as a city as well.
Say, as you kind of just look around the neighborhood, you've been out there all morning. Do you get the impression that it is widespread, like you're seeing signs like that on most storefronts as you kind of gaze around the neighborhood? Or is it one of those things that'd be hard to tell if you didn't know this was going on and you had social media? It'd be hard to tell anything was really different today.
Yeah, Anthony, I think that's a good point. You know, as I mentioned, obviously the Brewed Coffee Shop here in Avondale, also along with Bric-a-Brac Record Shop here, they're owned by the same people. They are closed, and they've made it very clear with signs on their businesses. Just across the street, though, I'm seeing like a vintage shop over here. They just opened their doors maybe about 5 or 10 minutes ago as we were getting on the air. And, you know, really for the most part, there are grocery stores that are still open. This morning, we've been kind of driving around the area. So it's not like this, you know, massive thing, kind of like Minneapolis, where we've seen so many of these businesses, because to be honest, guys, you know, let's face it, it's really hard for a lot of these businesses to afford closing right now, especially with that economic blackout day that we had last week. You know, a lot of these businesses are just trying to stay afloat, and we know that a lot of them are also donating some proceeds to mutual aid organizations and immigrant rights organizations to kind of show that support without necessarily closing shop for the day.
Saquon, live in Avondale for us. Thanks, Say.
All right, 12:09. We have some breaking news to get to right now. The Justice Department has officially opened a federal civil rights probe into the shooting death of Alex Preddy. A deputy attorney general says that they are looking at everything that would shed light on that incident. And while the Justice Department investigates if Preddy's civil rights were violated, the FBI is now leading the investigation into his death. Developing news as well, journalist Don Lemon is now in federal custody. This after a protest, we reported about this at a Minnesota church. Lemon was actually taken into custody, we're told, in L.A., Los Angeles, California, Last week, Lemon entered the St. Paul Church and recorded the protest, which did, as we reported, disrupt the Sunday service. Still unclear what charges Lemon is facing. In a statement, his attorney says that Lemon's work is protected by the First Amendment and that he will fight the charges vigorously. 2
people, sadly, have passed away after a house explosion in Oswego.
Roseanne Tejas has more from the scene.
By mid-morning, board-up crews were at the scene, putting fencing up around the property as investigators continued their work. Fire officials say this all started with an explosion about 5 p.m. yesterday, followed by heavy flames and huge plumes of smoke. Neighbors reportedly heard that blast and felt their homes shake. One of them told us by the time he stepped outside to take a look at where he thought the noises were coming from, the home immediately erupted in flames. Oswego firefighters say the 2-story wood frame house had already collapsed and was fully engulfed by the time they arrived. They say preliminary indications point to a gas leak as the likely cause. NICOR was on scene, shutting off the gas Thursday night. Several fire departments were called in to assist, including Plainfield, Sugar Grove, Aurora, and Bolingbrook. Fire officials knew that 2 people were unaccounted for early in the evening, but it was hours before they were able to carefully sift through debris and locate the bodies. A home next door was damaged, the siding nearly melting right off of that property. And today, the ATF, the State Fire Marshal's Office, and Oswego fire investigators continue looking for the cause of this fire on Fox Chase Drive. In Oswego, Roseanne Tejas, Fox Chicago.
Thanks to Roseanne, and we have new details as well about the murder of a pregnant woman in Downers Grove.
The DuPage County Sheriff's Office says 19-year-old Nidas Varoukas is in critical condition after injuring himself in jail. He was taken to a medical facility for treatment. Varoukas is accused of stabbing 30-year-old Eliza Morales and setting her on fire. She was 5 months pregnant. It stemmed from a sale on Facebook Marketplace. Varoukas is charged with first-degree murder, among other felonies. Prosecutors are seeking life in prison. His arraignment is set for February 18th.
All right, here's something unusual. All schools in Oak Lawn School District 123, they're closed today due to some sort of threat. The district says it received a threatening message directed at the Colmar School. Oak Lawn police are investigating, and we don't have word yet on the exact nature of this threat. We will obviously keep you posted if we hear anything else.
If you are set to travel this weekend, don't forget about this, because starting on Sunday, you're going to need either a real ID, a military ID, or a passport to pass through security.
Yeah, you might face a fine as well. You spoke with the Secretary of State, Alexi Giannoulis, about this on Good Day Chicago today, kind of outlining where you can go to get that ID and avoid those fines.
We have a lot of facilities that are open on Saturdays. If you can't get there during the week because you have kids or work or school, so check our website to make sure it's open. We opened the first Real ID Super Center in America, as I mentioned, on Clark and Lake. We are open this Saturday if you want to go. We have our flagship center on Monroe and LaSalle. So we're doing everything we can to add employee hours, to open it up, to make sure that people have options, and that when they do get there, they're not waiting.
Yeah, as a reminder, if you don't have the right identification, TSA says you will have to use their new Confirm ID service instead. And that's the kind of fine we're talking about. It's really a fee. It's $45. And that process can take anywhere from 10 minutes all the way up to a half hour. So you don't want to be in that situation when you're kind of rushing.
No
Airport.
way.
No, you gotta. He said, I remember him telling you today, he's like, we're trying to scream this from the rooftops so that people are ready. And rubber hits the road.
That's right,
Here.
this weekend.
Yeah.
More news here on Fox 32 News at noon. We'll be right back.
I was rear-ended.
The man accused of murdering a healthcare CEO will not face the death penalty. A judge dismissed the federal murder charge against Luigi Mangione, calling it, quote, technically flawed. But Mangione still faces stalking and state murder charges, both of which carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Meantime, this is a crazy twist to the story. A man was arrested this week after he showed up at the detention center where Mangione is being held. He claimed to be an FBI agent trying to free Mangione, and on his person, he had a barbecue fork and a pizza cutter as weapons. But they were able to detain that man and get some more information.
Definitely the unusual twist in an unusual case. In general. Okay, the Justice Department, meantime, is releasing another round of files related to Jeffrey Epstein. We're talking about a total of 3 million documents this time, including 180,000 images and 2,000 pictures. This follows a missed deadline of December 19th to release all the files after Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says today's release marks the end of comprehensive document identification and review.
We did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Epstein died in jail in 2019 after facing sex trafficking charges. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, is serving 20 years for her role. The documents aim to shed light on the government's knowledge of this case. After months of teasing his decision, President Trump is nominating former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh to be the next Federal Reserve Chair. Warsh has been considered a hawk on inflation, but recently supported lowering the rates and criticized the Fed.
I think what we need is regime change at the Fed, and that's not just about the chairman. It's about a whole range of people. It's about changing their mindset and their models.
If confirmed by the Senate, Warsh would replace that man right there, Jerome Powell, who Trump has repeatedly ripped for not lowering interest rates. Okay, it is time to talk about this weather. Look at that cool shot behind us, little drone action.
Yeah, this is on the other side of the lake in New Buffalo.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if this is one of the breakwaters.
Yes, and I can't stop looking at it.
I feel like I'm in a VR.
I feel like our desk is moving. That's right. It's like a ride at Disney World. Fox 32 meteorologist Caitlin Cody joining us now for another check of the forecast.
They're also up on a platform on a chair, so be careful, you guys. Don't look too closely.
Do you remember that Saturday Night Live skit with Sean Spicer where the podium, he could drive the podium around?
I don't remember that. I remember Spicer, though. Did he go on SNL?
No.
Okay.
It was Melissa McCarthy.
Oh,
I think,
playing Sean Spicer.
But that's almost like what I feel like. Like this has wheels.
That made me dizzy too.
Okay.
Beautiful though, beautiful. And by the way, they weren't walking out there to get those shots. We have a drone team. So don't walk out.
Kids, don't try this at home.
Yes, don't try it at home. Let's talk about this snowfall, though, because we got hit hard with snow not long ago. Currently, in the city, the snow's actually getting lighter, but you can see on our radar where the snow is still coming down quite heavy, especially just north of downtown, the northern half of Cook County being hit with that lake effect heavier snowfall. The rest of us seeing some light scattered snow. The southern half of Lake and Porter County, northern half of Jasper, Newton, covering Kankakee, LaSalle County, DeKalb County, Kane, Kendall, Grundy County. You have some light snow around, but a closer look does show again. O'Hare points north, right along that Lake Cook County border. This is where the snow is coming down the heaviest. So I-94, 294, I-90. I do expect drops in visibilities there. The rest of us still could be slick, don't get me wrong, but the snow is lighter at the moment. This is going to be how it will be the rest of the day, today, tonight, and tomorrow. Bands of heavy lake effect snow moving through, traversing by in Chicagoland, especially near the lake. And also in northwest Indiana, where we expect the heaviest snowfall to occur. I do think we're going to have some travel issues. Temperatures right now, let's take a peek. 19 at the lakefront, 17 at O'Hare and Midway. These are the actual temperatures. It's 12 in DeKalb, 15 in Aurora, 18 at LaSalle. Feeling like we could be in the low single digits, if not below zero. Wind chill right now, 5 at O'Hare, 3 in Aurora, 3 degrees below zero in DeKalb, 5 in Gary, 6 in Kankakee, so it is chilly. Now, we have been upgraded here in Cook County to a winter storm warning where you can see this pink shade, and also northwest Indiana still included in this, because this is where we have the greatest opportunity to see 6 inches of snowfall. Some of us could have more than 6 inches of snow before all is said and done and we dry out on Sunday. A full check of your 7-day forecast is ahead. It's 12:21. Stay with us.
Start your week.
Welcome back. As major lawsuits against big social media companies get underway, experts say this could be a turning point in how these platforms are designed for kids.
And joining us now is Northwestern psychologist Jessica Schleider, who studies youth mental health and social media. Jessica, thanks for being with us. We know you've looked deeply into this locally. What guardrails do you suggest that lawmakers should consider to keep kids safe from these social media platforms?
Yeah, so it's so exciting to consider the turning point that we're really facing right now, given the trials that are ongoing, and because we're really grappling with questions at a huge level with, who bears responsibility for online harm, what should be done about it, and one sort of policy response that I think is very likely to come up, but that I actually question, involve bans of social media for, youth under 16, such as the ban in Australia. Bans are simple, they signal action, they're politically attractive in that way, and they don't require the slow, logistically complex work of really regulating these trillion-dollar companies, but rather than blunt force bans, which I actually believe are probably the wrong response, I think that, really reformulating the architecture of these platforms and externally regulating these companies is such an important next step for making sure that online spaces are safe for not just youth, but for the adults who use them as well, and really shaping the future of how these platforms operate at a large scale.
Why do you think an outright ban is not the right course of action?
There are a few reasons why I believe this. First of all, a lot of marginalized and underserved young people with mental health needs, for example, turn to social media and online platforms as their first and often only source of support. So a blunt force ban, it blunts not just the risks of these online spaces, but also the really meaningful benefits for some subsets of young people. But I also believe that teens are digitally savvy. Bans are not going to end online engagement. Online is here, these spaces are here to stay, but they're just going to redirect it. So young people will now lie about their age or migrate to less regulated platforms or retreat into sort of harder to monitor spaces where safety risks may be even greater. So it's not about censoring spaces online, not about censoring content or banning content. It's really about reconstructing the architecture of these platforms to make them safer for everyone so that we can all participate in online life.
You know, one of the most frightening aspects of social media, certainly for parents, is the possibility of the wrong people reaching out to your child. And I would think that would be an even greater concern for some of the youth that you mentioned that might be in a fragile state. So what advice do you have for parents and maybe some guardrails that could be put in place so that doesn't happen?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think the guardrails that need to be put in place are really regulations on these companies. It's unfair to expect parents and families to be able to, navigate these very, unfairly designed systems all by themselves. But given the state of things and the state of these platforms today, I think honest conversations between parents and young people is the best way to go. Just ensuring transparency, ensuring openness, and creating a safe space to talk about how these platforms can, inadvertently connect people with, bad actors or pose risks to their well-being and safety. Those conversations are going to be essential. And certainly the platforms are increasingly coming out with certain parental protections and parental privacy monitoring tools. I think that's, a Band-Aid rather than a permanent solution. But while these platforms are hopefully forced to reformulate their architecture and how they're actually built, that open transparency and creating a safe space for teens to talk and land is absolutely critical.
Jessica, real quick, we're out of time here, but in terms of a permanent solution, you mentioned a Band-Aid solution there. How far, with these lawsuits underway, how far are we, do you think, in some kind of more permanent structural solution to this problem?
I think there's going to be an increasing public demand for these structural solutions. So I'm really hopeful that that pressure will expedite things. I do think, though, there are things we can do today. For example, these platforms can, minimize things like predatory algorithms that, maximize engagement at all costs. And they can also do things like what our lab studies, which is integrating digital supports into these platforms to actually promote youth mental health. So these platforms cannot just be a source of risk for youth well-being. They can offer tools that are evidence-based and validated and free today that can actually be part of the solution.
Good points. All right, Jessica Schleider with Northwestern, thank you again, and we will be right back.
Who's the
Welcome back, and we are seeing those ice chunks floating there in the Chicago River, and boy, that just illustrates how cold it is outside. Now, Caitlin, I know we were watching quite a bit of lake effect snow before the noon show. That has currently stopped for our viewing area, but it could start up again.
Yeah, you know, we still have some heavy snow just north of downtown, so that look was completely different earlier today. We had that lake effect band downtown, and you could see how it dropped visibility, and we had these big snowflakes falling. This lake effect snow is going to be on and off throughout the day today, tonight, and tomorrow. As it shifts on through, different areas are going to be hit with that whiteout snow and the quick accumulation, so slick roads are possible. I encourage you to limit travel if you can, especially if that lake effect snow is headed your way or is in your area. And again, this is quite a while to be watching out for that lake effect snow band to move in today, tonight, and tomorrow. So talking about it, Northwest Indiana, that's where we expect it to be hit the heaviest tonight. But then tomorrow even, Chicago could get in again on that lake effect snow. So what we're looking at is 4 to 6 inches possible, even in Chicago. Heavier snowfall, even more than 6 inches, not out of the question, especially in Northwest Indiana and close to the lake in Cook County. Satellite radar. So this is the big picture, and you can see how that snow has been moving in. Most of us see snowfall right now. Most of it, though, to Natalie's point, is light at the moment. I see one area of darker blue just north of downtown, the northern portion of Cook County, where the snow is coming down the heaviest, where I do expect drops in visibility. Lake Forest, Waukegan, you have some light snow. Same thing as we get out to DeKalb County, Kane County, Kendall County, you have some light scattered snow, but we do have that break happening currently in the city. So hopefully, because it is lake effect and it will be moving around, we can get those trucks out there and clear the roads in between those bands of snow. Temperatures outside right now are ranging from about 10 to 20 degrees. We're hovering in the upper teens for Chicago. Winds are around 10 to 15 at times with those gusts. Feel like temperature 6 at O'Hare, 3 degrees below zero in DeKalb. Northwest Indiana around 5 in Gary. So our winter storm alerts, winter storm warning in effect now, including most of Cook County, also Lake and Porter County. This is where we have the best opportunity to see 6 inches of snowfall. We'll take a look at that 7-day forecast when the 30s are back ahead.
Ah, the 30s. A wonderful, cozy 30s, right, Paris? He's here because the political news never seems to let up. I mean,
no, because we're in midterm session.
Exactly.
Right
now. Caitlin was using the metaphor of fire hose to describe lake effect snow. That's pretty much the level of news.
We have lake effect politics.
Yeah.
We just came up with a new name.
Yeah. How do you even?
Right.
Good thing we have you.
Good thing. So we've got the Senate race for Dick Durbin's seat because he is retiring. Of course, longtime Illinois senator. We only have 2 U.S. senators here in Illinois.
Right.
Tammy Duckworth is one of them.
Right.
And the competition is heating up here for his seat.
Yes, for the Democratic primary here. And remember, early voting starts in 2 weeks here in Chicago.
Wow,
I mean,
2 weeks.
Yes, so like this campaign and this election season is underway now. And the 3 main candidates in the Democratic primary, they've been going at it. They had a couple of debates this week. Things got testy, and here's the thing. So there's the 3 of them, Robin Kelly, Raja Krishnamurthy, Juliana Stratton. They're not going to differ very much on their views. They all said they believe ICE should be abolished or reformed. They've all been very critical of the Trump administration of the immigration deportation efforts. So how do they differ? Well, they've tried to kind of attack each other on where the money's coming from. So you saw Juliana Stratton taking on Raja Krishnamurthy this week, saying, well, you've taken money in the past from a contractor that does business with Department of Homeland Security. That's this controversial company, Palantir. A top executive there has donated over the years to Krishnamurthy. Krishnamurthy's like, well, he's a very prolific fundraiser. I have all kinds of donors. Stratton is the lieutenant governor. We know she's Governor Pritzker's candidate, maybe has access to his wealth. And then there's Robin Kelly, who's out today with her first TV ad, who's trailing a little bit. Raja, because he's had all those ads on TV, because he's raised a lot of money, he's the front runner right now in the polling. But now that this thing heats up, we'll see if that changes.
I have a question for you here. Okay, so I think one of the biggest I don't want to say complaints, but maybe complaints from Democrats, let's say, is that oftentimes the messaging these days is just pushing against what President Trump is doing.
Right.
Are there any new messages coming out of these three candidates of, hey, if I get elected, here's something new that I want to do, rather than maybe just pushing against Trump policy?
Well, Juliana Stratton has talked about being in favor of increasing the minimum wage, let's say, to $25. So you've seen $25. Others have said, yeah, 17 is probably good. So little issues like that they've touched on. But you bring up an important point, Natalie, because Senator Durbin is the #2 ranking senator on his side, and that means he's got a lot of clout. That means he can bring stuff back to Illinois. He can bring resources back to Illinois. He can get attention on Illinois. He helped get the Democratic convention here. Without Durbin, we do not have in our congressional delegation a lot of clout. Okay, it's boxing below its weight class. We don't have members that are ranking on committees, and so you might want to look at that when you look at these candidates. Say, well, who do I choose? They all seem the same. They say the same things. Well, who can really develop that clout? Who can rise in Washington to make Illinois front and center, to say, hey, we're going to bring back the pork and the bacon to Illinois?
Durbin, big shoes to fill. Okay, Governor Pritzker. One thing all three of these candidates agree on is the ICE situation, the accountability here. Governor Pritzker's ICE Accountability Project meeting today. What's the latest out of this?
So this is a commission he created. They're having their first meeting today, and they're having witness testimony, expert witness testimony, basically to talk about what's gone on during Operation Midway Blitz. The purpose of this is to establish data, to establish a permanent record of potential abuses from agents, to see if there would be any prosecution down the road under a new administration, of course. So it's just a way to document what ICE has done here, and they had their kickoff meeting today.
And the other big issue facing Northwest Indiana, well, I'm going to start with this, all of Indiana are these high NIPSCO bills.
Right.
And it seems that I'm just, from what I can tell, the state legislature there's more concerned about getting the Bears to build a new stadium than they are giving NIPSCO customers relief, because they just voted to essentially bankroll a new Bears stadium, while NIPSCO customers are saying, sorry, we don't have the funds to help you. Where does that issue stand right now?
Well, it's moving very fast, and Indiana's Senate just passed this bill that would create a state-funded authority that would purchase the land and pay for a lot of this stadium, basically. And the Bears want to go to Hammond, right over the border. I mean, that's so close to Chicago. It's got to go through the House. The House Speaker in Indiana, Republican, said, well, look, before I advance this, I want to get a commitment from the Bears. Stop flirting with us. Make it real.
Are
Make it
you
official.
using us as a bargaining
So it might be held up in the House a little bit. I don't know. And you're right, Natalie. I'm very surprised that lawmakers there are willing to forward these kinds of tax breaks to a big corporation when you've got pocketbook issues in the state of Indiana that are very real. And the Bears, it's going to be a little corner of Northwest. You got an entire state here, you know, that has issues. So but Governor Braun, attracting business from Illinois is a big coup. That's a feather in their cap. And at the end of the day, if we lose the Bears, if the state loses the Bears, I think it is a black eye on whoever is in charge. Governor Pritzker, the legislature, they will be remembered as the regime that lost the Bears to Indiana. So will they act now? Will they feel the urge to act quickly on something in Arlington Heights?
Keep us posted, Paris.
Thank you,
for the update on all those fronts.
Chicago Report, 10 o'clock, Monday through Thursday.
For sure. Great show. All right.
We'll be there.
We'll be right back after this short break.
They told me.
Renovation,
Indiana residents are being warned about a recall that affects a number of popular food and medicine products, including chips and candy. The FDA is recalling nearly 2,000 items due to possible contamination, and this is super gross, of rodent and bird waste. This is for grocery items like Cheerios, Skittles, and Pringles, sold in Indiana, Minnesota, and North Dakota. Those are the only 3 states impacted here. Also, pet food and over-the-counter medicines like Advil and Benadryl. The FDA is urging people to throw those products out, don't return them. We have the full list of products that you need to be worried about, along with this story on our website, fox32chicago.com. And we'll be right back.
The energy is back.
A major gun safety measure has been reintroduced in Springfield. It would essentially, what gun safety advocates say it would do is ban those DIY machine guns.
Anita Blanton begins our Chicago Live coverage in about 13 minutes here. And Anita, I understand you're also going to be speaking with a student leader from Northwestern.
Yeah, going to go ahead and start off the conversations right now here, guys. You know, we've had so many instances where these switches put on guns change or take lives really in seconds. And in fact, when I first saw that we were going to be talking about this, I immediately thought about the death of Chicago police officer Enrique Martinez. That was back in 2024. The man convicted used a switch on that gun to take his life. So let's go ahead and bring in Matthew Jamil. He is a leader of Students Demand Action at Northwestern to talk a little bit more about the legislation that was just reintroduced. And tell me why, as a college student, this is meaningful to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. So gun violence is the #1 cause of death for youth in America. And growing up with the threat of shootings that loomed over our schools, but also in our neighborhoods, our places of worship, theaters, grocery stores, really everywhere you go, the threat of a shooting lingers. And this caused a lot of anger in me. I was mad that the issue persisted and that nobody, especially our elected officials, seemed willing enough to really make any change to address the issue at hand. So instead of waiting for other people to begin making change, I really decided to start doing it myself. So during my freshman year of college, when I got the opportunity to work with Students Demand Action to help out with a summer program for high school students in Chicago, which focused on educating them on gun violence prevention policy and advocacy. I jumped right in, and I've been involved ever since.
How do you factor gun manufacturers into this, you know, when people are like changing the products that they create?
Yeah, so in Illinois and really across the country, the safety of our communities is being threatened by these DIY machine guns, which are capable of firing up to 1,200 rounds per minute with the simple installation of a switch, which is a small attachment around the size of a Lego piece that can really turn these weapons into weapons of war. And this bill would prohibit the future sale of semi-automatic handguns that can be easily converted into these illegal machine guns using the switch. Yeah. So the switches are already an illegal part of the process. Then they're illegal to possess under both federal and state law, but they're still easy to get for as little as $25 or with a 3D printer at home. So what this policy would do is simply close that loophole by prohibiting handguns that can be easily converted into machine guns, helping keep our communities, our children, and our first responders safe. So by passing this bill, Illinois would really be putting the onus on the gun industry to make that change and put them on notice and make it clear that manufacturers must either redesign their pistols to prioritize the safety of the citizens or cease selling them in the state.
You know, you touched on the loophole aspect of it that I was going to ask you about next, but do you just see this as like technology outpacing safety essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. And the gun manufacturer knows that this issue persists, yet they still fail to make that change towards safety. So we're asking the gun manufacturers to innovate their weapons towards more safety.
You know, and on a final note here, when we say reintroduced, obviously, this measure failed before. So what kind of changes make you hopeful that it'll make it all the way this time?
Yeah, one thing that gives me a lot of hope is the students that are at the root of this movement. So Students Demand Action, which I'm a part of at Northwestern, is one of the largest grassroots youth-led gun violence prevention movements in the country. We have chapters all across the country that anyone can join, made up of students who are really organizing in their schools and communities to demand action from lawmakers and create a safer space for everyone. We work to educate our peers on gun violence prevention, mobilize young people to advocate for common sense gun laws, and we show up, like whether that means hosting trainings, engaging in voter education, going down to Springfield to directly advocate for these policies, going on Fox 32 Chicago Live, or even standing up with solidarity with the communities most impacted by gun violence. So these students are really the things that make me very hopeful for this legislative cycle.
Well, Matthew, you'll have to keep us updated for sure. Great having a conversation with you today about it. And we'll talk to you, I'm sure, again down the road. You know, we're actually looking at a couple of different aspects of this, everyone. Yes, we're talking about the topic that's going, the legislation that's going, the distance, but we're also going to be talking about this aspect of student activism today on Chicago Live, along with plenty of other topics. So we're hoping that everyone will join us online between 1 and 4 p.m. today. You can find us on YouTube, the Fox Local app, or right on our website, fox32chicago.com. We hope we'll see everyone then. All right, I'll send it back to break, and then we'll have Anthony and Natalie back with you after that.
No matter how you start your
Caitlin, you're going to love Natalie's little baby gift that she just got in the mail.
Tell me more.
One of my best friends, Lindsay, gave me, it's a baby blanket that looks like a giant flour tortilla. So
I've seen those
baby burrito.
Baby burrito, just those toes, those cheeks. Don't get me started, you guys. My baby weirdness is going to come out.
Okay.
Let's talk about this forecast. We have some snow coming down, heavy snowfall moved through Chicago. Now I'm seeing some darker blue shades just north of the city, but light snow still from Waukegan down to Evanston. Aurora, you have some light snow. DeKalb County, LaSalle County, down into Kankakee County, Will County, you have a little bit of light snow too. We are going to have rounds of lake effect snow. And that's going to continue today, tonight, and tomorrow. Today, temperatures are hovering right around 20. As we move into tonight, down to about 9. Heaviest snowfall tonight expected to be in northwest Indiana, but that heavy snow could be shifting into Chicago tomorrow. Take a look at this number, 6 inches plus. That is possible not only in Lake and Porter County in Indiana, but also now Cook County. We have a warning in place too, meaning we could see 6 inches of snow before all is said and done. Tomorrow, a high of 24. Again, we're going to have those whiteout conditions possible within the bands of lake effect snow that will be pivoting through today, tonight, and tomorrow. Tomorrow's high 24, and then we finally dry out with temperatures around 27 degrees on Sunday. Next week, that's when the 30s are back. 30 degrees with dry skies Monday. After Sunday night, we could see a little bit of snow. And then Tuesday's high around 30. Same thing on Wednesday. Chance for snow is around again. And then on Thursday, right around 31 degrees. So breaking down your forecast, I know you're probably trying to make your weekend plans. Know that if you are near the lake, so I'm talking about Cook County, Lake, Porter County, the closer you get to the lake in Chicagoland, that's where we're going to have the most snowfall. And it's that fluffy, quick accumulating snow. It's also hazardous to travel in because you could be driving along with blue skies and then you hit that lake effect snow. So know that it is going to be pivoting through, especially today, tonight, and tomorrow before things do dry out. Tomorrow, maybe just stay put, go sledding. We're going to be in the 20s this weekend. I hope you enjoy it, but stay safe. Have a great weekend.
Get beautiful new floors with Luna's 70.